Welcome to the Cornbread and Kool-Aid podcast. My name is Demetrius. We're here today to talk about week three of the 2023 season. The Lions had the Falcons in at Ford Field today, and this podcast is for fans of the Detroit Lions or fans of football in general. Always shout out the Godfather, the super producer extraordinaire, or the SPE as I like to call him, Mr. Mike Ward. We hope you like the podcast. If you do, there's ways to let us know. There's buttons and there's hearts and subscribe and click. And you know what to do if you happen to like it. Um, there are those who don't, but they listen anyway, and I appreciate you for that. We might get into that a little later. So week three shook out pretty well, depending on how you look at it. I think that the final score was 20-6, Lions over the Falcons. It was a defensive win, obviously. I say obviously when another team only scores 6 points. I do later want to talk about a concept called complementary football that they talk about a lot. But mostly today was a game that it's gonna be the way it is, and I don't know how else to say it. They're I don't know that they're gonna win a whole lot of pretty games that we just all love. Maybe there's some teams that aren't as good, and they'll play those teams and they'll play those kinds of games. I fear that we are in store for a whole bunch of this, a whole bunch of these games where I have to be honest. Um, every time they missed an opportunity up 13-3 to stretch that lead out, make it 23. I feel like at halftime it should have been minimum 23, maybe 24-3. And that's just the way they are. That's the way it is. And I'm okay with it. At the end of the day, it's got to be about the win. It has to be about the win. And the offense certainly did enough today. You know, there were lapses that bother me a little bit. There were some, I use the term a lot, clean up, clean up. There's stuff they need to clean up. There's a lot for them to clean up. That applies more today than any game in recent memory. There's a lot to clean up. I think that there were penalties today. We saw a couple of drops. Even Amon-Ra St. Brown dropped a pass, which doesn't really happen. We get these in-game lapses from Jared Goff, and there's no bigger golf guy. Well, there might be, but I doubt it. I'm a big golf guy, right? So there's few guys who like golf as much as I do, and have since the day we acquired him. I was on board with golf from day one, and that's not me doing revisionist history. You can look in the archives. The Stafford Trade podcast is there. Mike and I talked about it for an hour, and I said at the time, I don't get it. Golf was, I think, 26, 27 at the time, had been to a Super Bowl. And I remember telling Mike, I think, we could look back at this if Jared Goff is who we thought he was, as opposed to who Sean McVay painted him out to be late in that season. We might have our quarterback. And that, I said, this whole thing, who knew Brad Holmes was gonna kill the draft the way he did. But I said, if the key to this whole trade is Goff, if Goff is the quarterback, you solved your quarterback problem and got all these draft picks. And I didn't even expect Goff to be what he has turned out to be. And you're gonna have guys saying, "Oh, he threw that interception." Yep, he did. He did. And if that's all you saw, okay, you're that guy, and I'm cool with it. But we cannot. I don't do injuries. I promise you, I don't do injuries. But we took a hit last week. They took a hit last week. I occasionally do the we thing because I am cornbread eating, Kool-Aid drinking fan who thinks I'm a part of the team. So I don't need that tweet. I got that tweet once about, I don't know, 2 years ago. You're always saying we. Did you play it down? Nope, sure didn't. But I'm doing it anyway. So um obviously CJ Gardner Johnson, long out, might be back later in the year. James Houston, similar thing, probably done. Um, no Decker, 2 straight weeks. Lost Kirby Joseph last week. Still no Emmanuel Mosley. Ties out, and David Montgomery was out. That's a big deal. I'm still a little salty from the asterisk thing a few weeks ago, but for them to come out and again play a decent game, I still don't think we've seen an A game from them. I think they played a B plus game in Kansas City, enough to win. I think they played a B minus game last week and went to overtime. And I think you might have gotten you got an A game from the defense, and special teams didn't do anything too bad, but there were these lapses in time where the offense struggled. I can't even say they played an A game today. So when you go out as a team and play somewhere between B plus and B minus games 3 weeks in a row, and you're sitting at 2-1, I view that as a positive. That's the optimist in me. When they put it together, and I say when because history suggests they will put it together. And when they do, this offense is good. It might be week 7, hint, right? Because that guy's coming back, and he's going to give them a whole dynamic. Jameson Williams comes back week 7, gives them, if they clean this stuff up, the dumb penalties, some of the things where golf has these 2 or 3 drive lapses, or they do things, they clean that up and then add JMO, the offense is going to be dangerous. And you got to think about what they've done. 21, 31, 20. Offense isn't a problem, but make no mistake, today was a defensive win. There were multiple opportunities for the offense to slam the door shut or put your foot on their neck, whatever terminology you want to use when you're up 10 at home and you get 2, 3, 4 cracks maybe to stretch your lead, extend your lead, really put them behind the 8 ball. And today the Lions kept coming up short in that respect. That was concerning me as the game went on, but it was clear again, if there was a way to erase the names, maybe discolor the jerseys and just watch a game, when you watch a game, 80% of the time, this team is better than that team. Doesn't always mean they're going to win, but you can tell who the better team was, right? And so the defense today, I thought clearly of all the 6 units, special teams, offense, and defense for both teams, of the 6 units, the Lions defense was the most dominant unit on the field today without question. I mean, I think that other stuff that I talked about, the penalties, the drops, the stretches where Jared Goff misses guys, and there was 2, 3 misses, and then the interception was a blatant miss. That guy was open, he overthrew him easily, and I think that's just one he wants to get back. At that moment, I wondered if he was hurt or something because he had a couple. He had gotten hit more than I'm used to seeing Jared Goff get hit, and so I was worried that maybe something was wrong, but he said it just got away, right? So, but on defense, they had 7 sacks, 11 tackles for loss. And early in the game, there were these moments where, the defense did something that helped stop Atlanta from gaining momentum or keeping the game where it was. And it was the back-to-back sacks early. Got the crowd involved, which in that building, crowd's a big deal. It's a really good crowd in that building, really gives the team energy. The Falcons had thrown a long pass on the sideline to Drake London, and they came out with a stop, and that was big because you know football is a really a big game of momentum, and a team on the road can get momentum from plays like that, and for the defense to step up and stop them and create that energy again on the defensive side of the ball was huge. I think I noticed that they got interior pressure all day, just from a theme standpoint, the Lions were able to get pressure like inside. They didn't. Bijan Robinson wasn't a factor. He might have had 60, 70 total yards, but I think as a team they had 44 yards rushing. You're going to win football games if you don't turn it over a lot, and they turned it over once. If you don't turn the ball over a lot and you hold the other team to 44 yards rushing, and you get the kind of pressure they were getting on Desmond Ritter, that's the recipe for winning a game on defense. And I think that's kind of who they are. I think every week the Lions are going to be there. They're going to be there, and they're going to win a lot of games, in my opinion. Some weeks it'll clearly be the offense. Should have been last week. Some weeks it'll clearly be the defense, like it was today. I think that they're the type of team that we're going to get these types of games from. During the 3 hours, we're going to be gripping the armrest and wondering how they're going to do it. But I do think they're going to win these games. They had, with the exception of Jerry Jacobs, and I'm not here to drag Jerry Jacobs, by the way. I'm a Jerry Jacobs guy. I think where he came from and what he's been able to accomplish, I like him. I think he's out there playing hard. He reps Detroit. He seems to love it here. So he's been getting dragged on Twitter big time the last couple weeks, and not just because I'm and eternal optimist, and I'm a big time cornbread eater. Not for those reasons, because there are players of ours that I have gone in on hard in the past when I thought they deserved it. Amani Oruwariye last year, good example. Might be a nice guy. I don't know him. I was not happy with his play on the field all year. I don't think I'm there with Jerry Jacobs yet. I think Jerry Jacobs still a good football player. Had a maybe a rough week last week, but I'm not here to drag Jerry Jacobs. But the secondary as a whole played well. I am becoming. I'm going to run for president of the Cam Sutton fan club. I know that because all that dude does is show up every week and play. Tracy Walker came back in, coming back from his injury, played. He's got to catch one of those interceptions. I need you to make. But I thought Tracy Walker played well with the injury to Joseph and losing C.J. Gardner Johnson. It was going to be tough, but I thought he played well. So the secondary in general played well. Then you have Goff, who, you know, I everybody knows I'm a Goff guy, right? um, but there are glimpses, and he starts off good. All 3 weeks, he has started off really hot, and he looks in rhythm, and you think, man, if this is our quarterback, we have something. And then he has a stretch at some point in the game. He'll miss a guy on a throw, or today there was a couple, and I've already mentioned them. The injury to the right tackle hurt. When Nelson went down, they had to come back with Skipper, who they brought back, big guy, and then Skipper got hurt, so they had to go to the rookie, the Sorsdahl from I think he's from William and Mary, and that was tough. That created some offensive line cohesion's a big deal, and the injuries we have on the line right now are terrible. Decker's out, Vitai's out. We lose Nelson, we lose Skipper. Um, we are makeshift on the line right now. But when you see stuff like you saw from Laporta, when you see stuff like you saw from Gibbs, and especially later in the game, Gibbs showed you what he can do. I think this team still has a chance to be special, largely because in 3 games, they haven't played their best football. And I think history says they will play better. If they play better, they're going to be tough. They're going to be tough. You can clean up the penalties. You can clean up the drops. I think there was a degree of passive play calling, in my opinion. One, they were up 13-3, and that's just not enough for me. That's 2 possessions. I thought they could have been more aggressive. The step on their neck philosophy didn't show up, and I was really worried during the game that it was going to come back and bite us. Thankfully, it did not. They got the 20-6 win. There were key moments that if you watched the game, you saw the key moments. The second quarter was a struggle for me, right? They got a big third down stop on defense, and they had a big play to Khalif Raymond to keep a drive alive, and they were staying ahead of the sticks. And then I saw that passive play calling that didn't sit well. Having to get that field goal late in the second instead of getting a touchdown, I thought that was big. I didn't feel great 13-3 at halftime. Um, and the injuries came in the second quarter to the offensive lineman. That was starting to really concern me. So going into halftime, I was already not thrilled with the injury situation on the offensive line. I was worried about what's going to happen. Then they go 3 and out coming out of the second half, and I thought, SOL guy is somewhere thrilled. He's pounding on Twitter right now, just thrilled. And then they get another 3 and out in the third, and so there's 2-3 drives in a row, late second into the third, and it's still 13-3. And like I said, SOL guy was thrilled because SOL principle, although there's no real SOL and there's no real principle, it's basically rooted in stupidity. But that ridiculous concept that I hate suggests we would have somehow lost that game, right? But then they didn't. They bounced back and had a really strong drive that probably was the closeout drive that got them where they were, 20-3 at the time. And then to me, it was every bit as key that Atlanta took a drive and burned 5.5 minutes of clock time, which was every bit as important. And they didn't get a touchdown. They had to settle for a field goal. That to me was when I felt like, okay, the best unit on the field is the Lions defense. It's a wrap, right? And it was. So I wouldn't call it pretty. Um, there was a degree of angst, which we will probably experience in every game this year. I glanced at the schedule. this is kind of who we are. And I'm embracing it a little bit more each week because you don't see those. The results are the results. At the end of the day, 2 years ago, team would be 0-3 right now. They would have lost both of those games they won. Last year, they'd probably be 1-2. So I see culturally the ability to go get games that they couldn't get before. I think some of that is coaching. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about some coaches, some players. And the Twitter is open, and you can always, like, during the show, our new thing is we'll leave it open. If you've got something to say and it's worthwhile, I'll go take a look. But don't I mean, don't piss me off. I'll take a look, but the Twitter is open. If you got some thoughts, feel free. I think that the passive play calling at different points in time is not really indicative of what Ben Johnson has been, what he normally is. Um, Dan Campbell, I'm comfortable with him understanding situations. So up 10, your defense is playing well. You punt. There was a fourth down where I was like, oh, I know he's going for this. And they're like, well, the punt team's coming. I was like, wait, what? Dan Campbell's going to punt? Then I thought, oh, he's going to fake. And he kicked it away. And at that moment, I thought, okay, I get it. Right. The Lions defense was the best unit on the field all day. They hadn't done anything that was worrisome. So sometimes you got to let your defense win the game, right? When the other team can't run, when you're getting pressure up the middle and from the edge, and their quarterback is missing on throws, is being rushed, know who you're playing. Understand it's okay to win a game on defense, right? It's okay to win it. It's somehow a 20-6 win, right? There are people right afterwards in Twitter taking shots at me like, "Hey, enjoy your cornbread." And I'm like, I watched the game. I get it. I just don't have a problem with winning ugly games. That's not my because the first word in that sentence is winning. But playing with a lead is something I think the Lions might have to get comfortable with. I think you're going to play teams that, from a talent standpoint, are not as good as you are, and you're going to be ahead in games, and you have to find that balance between uh, uh, passive play calling, using up clock, but also, you know, somehow imposing your will. I would love it if you just stomp them out and you're up 30. Okay, up 30 is easy football. And even when they went up 20-3, you saw them, you saw Atlanta move the ball easily down the field to get in the field goal range. And that's a product of the defense. The Lions knew they were up 17. It was fourth quarter. The clock had become as much Atlanta's enemy as the Lions defense had. So they were perfectly comfortable with the idea of Atlanta moving down, burn up 5.5 minutes. It was 7 or 8 minutes left in the game, and you're down 3 scores. I'm okay with that. Statistics will look funny, but I would have been much happier if they would have gone into halftime up 24-3, scored to start the second half, and been up 31-3, and just put your foot on their neck. I'd have been fine with that. I'd have been fine if Teddy Bridgewater finished the game. It's okay to do that. Everything doesn't have to be grinded out. But I do understand you got to take the win. And I'm generally not the dude to come on here and complain about a win. I try and do a objective evaluation while eating my cornbread and drinking my Kool-Aid. And so what I have to mention is last week I gave AG some grief. Aaron Glenn's scheme last week confounded me. I thought Seattle out schemed him in a lot of ways. And I saw today that he did something. He did more than one thing because I didn't see players running wide open 15 yards down the field. And more than anything, the Lions got pressure. They got pressure from the inside. They got pressure from the outside. Like I mentioned, they had 7 sacks and 11 tackles for loss. The Lions did something schematically that put their players in a position to make plays. And then the players went out and executed that strategy and made plays. So I think that it's important to see that when to me it's really important when someone has a bad week, or whether it's a coach or a player or a team, the next week, how do they come out? And while I don't have too many issues fundamentally with the offense, I think the offense is pretty well intact. there will be stretches in every game where the offense will go 3 and out, or they might make a mistake, or they might have a couple penalties or throw an interception. As a whole, when you're averaging 23, 24 points, if your defense plays well, you have a shot to win games in this league. And I think that what we saw today was what we needed to see. They needed to come out, play hard, grinding, gritty, salty, whatever cool buzzword we're putting on shirts today, and just get a win. It could be a tough, ugly win. I didn't care. We needed to go into Thursday with a positive mindset, because Thursday becomes, a pretty important game at this point. I think the pressure they got, and you got good secondary play. I can't say enough how impressed I am with Cam Sutton. If you're sleeping on Cam Sutton, I need you to pay attention to the fact that he just doesn't give up plays. I think there was a catch early in the game on him. But think about when you're watching the game, ask yourself, how many times have I seen Cam Sutton get beat? How many times have they thrown to Cam Sutton? Right? It's a thing now where Cam Sutton's really good, and we've got him locked up for 3 years. By all accounts, he's good in the room. He comes from an organization in Pittsburgh. He's just doing his job. So I am running for president of the Cam Sutton fan club, right out the gate. 3 games in, I don't know that there's a better signing right now because I watched every play of all 3 games, and Cam Sutton just makes plays. When they have the audacity to throw at Cam Sutton, he just makes plays. Love that signing. And so moving on from coaches to players, obviously, Aleem McNeil, whatever you did with the new body and the weight loss and all that, it's working. He was disruptive all day. Had a really good sack where he beat his man. He was disruptive all day. This is the thing where you have guys that we sort of forgot about and we just sort of pushed aside because there was a new hotness that showed up, whether it's Hutch or whoever it is, and people just forgot about Ali McNeil. It's like Dre on the second Chronic record. People just forgot. Um, Ali McNeil, people forgot. And I think he showed again today, and I think he's having just a solid season. He can be disruptive. And if they get Benito Jones played well, I think Isaiah Buggs came back and played well. That those guys in the middle, they make it easy for Harris and Hutch and these guys on the outside to do what they do. I think I am also going to probably in almost every podcast, just on principle. Khalif Raymond makes big plays in almost every game. He'll make one or two of them. Amon-Ra St. Brown's a beast. I don't even know if I have to mention him at this point, but I should. This is kind of like Mike's old segment. Here's a guy. When we first started the podcast, we pick out the guys, right? And it'll be the same guys. Amon-Ra St. Brown would be that guy every week, probably, because he catches everything except that one pass today that he dropped. That he, tried to one hand. He should have caught that, but we're not doing that with Amon-Ra St. Brown. So Khalif Raymond, I think is a solid player, makes plays. And oh, by the way, Jamo's coming back, right? But we're getting there, Bear. We're getting there. We're getting there. I got him coming. Hutch was huge. Even when he didn't get there, you can watch. And often the camera angle is from the left side of the defensive line, and you see Hutch just pushing his man back. Aiden Hutchinson is special as a pass rusher. He's just special. So since my big bro is pushing me around, I'm like Hutch on the offensive lineman. I'm gonna change things up, Mike, and we're gonna. I saw one of the Twitter questions, so we're gonna do the Twitter stuff first. We're gonna do the Twitter stuff next, and then I'm gonna come back because one of the questions that we looked at on Twitter was about why should we believe? Okay, let me read it exactly. After watching this game, why should we believe they can do anything great? And so my answer was a combination of things, like the last 2 years being very important. They played better in the second half of the year than the first half. In both of those years, they got off to really slow starts. But my biggest point was look at the core. Look at the core. So I am always preaching. I do other podcasts, and I made a joke on one of them and said, Mrs. Holmes, I'm gonna need you to clear some space off on the mantle because Brad's going to bring home an Executive of the Year trophy pretty damn soon. And if I say to you, Penei Sewell, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I talk about Derek Barnes, and then I go Aleem McNeil and Malcolm Rodriguez, and I talk about Kirby Joseph, and then I talk about Jack Campbell and Jahmyr Gibbs, and I talk about Big Brother's favorite player, Brian Branch. These are draft picks over the last couple years. Brad Holmes is really good at his job, and I feel like I forgot somebody. Who's the fourth rookie that's balling out right now? Somebody will tell me. I forgot one of the rookies this year, but in my mind there were four guys: Gibbs, Branch, Campbell. Fourth guy, I apologize. I'll figure you out in a minute. But all these guys are playing well. Brian Branch is already a star in the league. To me, I'm talking if you just based on his play, I don't know how you oh Laporta. Good God, I forgot Laporta. And I don't know, by the way, I'm calling it. Somebody's already said it, I'm sure. I think the Lions are going to have the offensive and defensive rookie of the year. It had just happened last year, so it's not hard to do. The Jets had it in Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson. I think the Lions are going to do it and make it back-to-back years. I think Sam Laporta at tight end is going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, and I think Brian Branch. They might already be mailing the trophy to Brian Branch because he tackles, he has ball skills, he just makes plays. So I restructured it because I got hit on the comments. Hey, Brian Branch. That's all he typed was Brian Branch. And you're right. Brian Branch is I don't know how we got that guy where we got him, but I remember watching the Lions draft show, and I remember how happy Brad Holmes was that he was there. And they might have moved around to get there, but but to answer the question the guy posted on Twitter was why should we think they can do anything great? So first let's define what is great. If they get to the NFC Championship game, I'm good. I'm good. And how do they do that? They do that by winning 12 games, winning the division, getting a bye, maybe hosting a game, winning at home, then you're in the NFC Championship game. If you're sitting here now telling me that's not doable, okay, we're just different kind of people. I believe they're going to get better because they've gotten better each of the last 2 years. And if they win Thursday, get Thursday, and you're 3-1, and I'm projecting you're going to get better because young players tend to get better. New players in a new scheme tend to get better. And we have 2 years of data that says second half of the year Lions will be better than first half of the year Lions. Yeah, I think they're going to get better. Second, who's the team, particularly on the NFC side of the ball, who's the team they can't play with? Tell me the team that you look at them and go, no chance the Lions could beat them. Because I don't know who that team is. And I got a friend up in Montreal named Christoph who's laughing right now, which is cool. He's an Eagles guy, right? I'm sorry, Chris. That's going to be a good game. If we get there, that's going to be a good game. We obviously can play with the Chiefs. We did. And even if take away the asterisk, and even if we would have lost that game, they were fully healthy, and we would have played a good game. We'd have played with them. Who's the team that you look at and you say there's no chance the Lions could beat them? Because if you grant me that, we're already there. If you don't see a team on the NFC side, and again, I can remind you that 2 weeks ago they beat the Chiefs at Arrowhead. Do the asterisk thing if you want. I'm not even talking about winning. I'm asking you to tell me who's the team that they can't play with. Because I think they can play with anybody. They haven't even played a good game yet, by the way. As they clean some stuff up and get better, as they are prone to do in the second half of the year, the week 10 Lions are going to be way better than the Lions that played today. The week 12, the week 18 Lions, the week 20 Lions that are playing in the NFC Championship game. I'll slow my roll. I'm just saying the last 2 years they've gotten better each week. Each year, second half of the year, Lions will be better. So if you tell me the team that you think there's no chance, no matter where the game is played, that the Lions can play with on the NFC side of the ball, I'm listening. I I don't know what the score is now, but before I came on the mic, Dallas was struggling with Arizona, right? The Ravens lost today, and they're on the AFC side. Who's the team on the NFC side? We'll find out Thursday if it's the Packers. I don't believe it is. I know it's not Minnesota. Who is it? Atlanta? No. Saints blew a 17-0 lead today to Green Bay. Who is it? It's not the Commanders. It's not the Giants. So I'm going through the whole NFC side of the ball, and I will set aside the Eagles and say to you that there is no team that I fear. And if we play the Eagles in Detroit, I like our chances. If we play the Eagles in Philadelphia, I like our chances because I believe the team playing week 19, injuries not counting because anybody can get injured and change everything, you know. But if Jared Goff's healthy and we're playing the Eagles in an NFC championship game, that doesn't surprise me. And I'm not saying we'd beat them. I'm saying I do not see a team on the NFC side that we can't play with. I don't see a team in the league we can't play with. I mean, the answer would have been Kansas City. We played with Buffalo last year on Thanksgiving, right there. And we're a much more talented team now. And all that assumes two things. One, no major injuries, right? Two, we clean up the crap we got to clean up, right? Dumb penalties have to go away. I need Goff to stop having these lapses in the middle of the game, right? But so that's where my enthusiasm comes from. The guy who the short answer to your question is just that. Injuries aside, the Lions are young and talented. Young talent generally gets better. The core of that team I just named, it's Penei Sewell, it's St. Brown, Laporta, Branch, Rodriguez, Jack Campbell, it's Kirby Joseph, it's Brian Branch. The core of this team is really young, like 3 years or less. And Jared Goff, who I don't really care what you think. I'm a golf guy and I'm going to stay a golf guy. Nobody scares me on the NFC side, and the Lions aren't even playing their best football yet. That's your answer. Let's do all the let's do all the Twitter stuff now. What's it gonna take to get a clean game? Oh, okay. So what's the definition of clean? Right? We didn't have one. The wins are probably going to be ugly. I still think they're a 12-win team, maybe even 13. But if they win 13 games, 10 of them are going to be slugfests. And today they won by 2 touchdowns. And I don't feel like they played their best football, right? But maybe that's what a good team is. A good team plays a B minus game against a bad team at home and wins by 2 touchdowns. Maybe that's what good teams do. So you thought Kansas City was good and we were not. They should have beat us even without those two guys, right? That's what great teams do. I don't know that the Lions can't beat anybody. Set the injury thing aside. That's the only thing. But this might be what it is. It might just be they will grind out wins, And I remember 2 years ago, I got kneecap jokes. Everybody saw me wearing a shirt like this. Oh, kneecaps. And I kept telling them, y'all don't get it. Y'all don't know what he means. Y'all don't get it, right? It was a weird thing to say. It was a weird way to say it, right? But as my brother just posted, the Lions can play with anybody. NFC, AFC, doesn't matter. I agree with him. I don't, I don't, I don't see that team. And if you do, you can go on Twitter, you can stream, you can right here in the chat. I'm fine with that. That culture is what Dan Campbell was talking about. He was talking about a mindset. Now they're using the word like grit and they wear shirts that say salty. They're talking about a way that you think. And the way that you think drives the way that you practice and prepare. And the way you practice and prepare drives the way you play in the game. And you see the way they play. You see the way they play. They're fighting. They're fighting every possession. And it's hard to get anything on them. Ask the Falcons what they think kneecaps means. Because every time they tried something, every time they landed a punch, and they didn't land many, but the idea is that ask the Seahawks up 10 with 6 minutes left last week. There were Seahawk fans who thought that game was over. And them coming back and getting it to overtime, that's kneecaps. We're never going to stop coming. We're never going to stop coming. Right. And if they win the coin toss, I contend they win that game last week because the Seahawks couldn't stop them. They stopped themselves on a pick six and a fumble by Montgomery. The Seahawks never stopped them. That's what it is. It is when the Lions play a B minus game and win by 14. That's kneecaps. That's a mentality. That's a mindset. And I love it. It's hard as hell for 3 hours, man. It was 13-10 and they went 3-and-out. And I'm like, come on, just step on these guys' necks. I don't know if that's what we're going to get. I think we're going to get these grinded out, biting kneecaps wins. And I'm here for it now. They can keep making their kneecap jokes and we'll keep getting W's and they'll start to go, okay, wait. But that's what it is. So I don't know how you define clean. I think you want that perfect game. You'll get one. We got some bad teams on the schedule. You're going to get a 3 touchdown blowout. But I mean, they won by 2 touchdowns today. And there's no doubt the Lions defense was the best unit on the field all day. And even me, Mr. Cornbread and Kool-Aid, I was like, I just need you guys to put him away. And then, but I'm watching it thinking, wait, the Falcons have done nothing. Bijan was supposed to be they had 44 yards rushing as a team. He ended up with 60, 70 total yards. He wasn't a factor. Bijan Robinson was never a factor in that game. The Lions defense was the dominant unit all day. And there'll be games they'll win because their defense will dominate and games they'll win because their offense. Because sleep on the offense if you want. When they clean up these penalties and Goff, and he's playing well already, Goff keeps being Goff. They're going to run up 35. They're going to put a 40 burger on somebody sooner or later. It's just, this might be what a good team is. See, and this is where it's a way of thinking. I think really good teams win even when they don't play well. And I'm not sure the Lions have played well yet. They played good enough in Kansas City. They outside of probably 2 plays and a coin flip, played good enough last week. They haven't put it together. When they put it together, it's going to be fun to watch. But I think we're going to get these games like this, right? All right, one more. Why does this 2-1 team whose only loss came in overtime feel like a bad team? I might have just covered that. I might have just covered that. I think it depends on who you are, right? SOL guy will tell you they're lucky. They should be 0-3 if Kansas City has Kelsey and Jones, and they should be 0-3. And the Falcons are a bad team. That's what SOL guy will say, right? You got guys like me who will say, but for a coin toss, they could be 3-0. And I don't feel weird saying it. Now the truth might be somewhere in the middle. At the end of the day, they're 2-1. That's all that matters. I love being predictive guy. And I said they were going to go 12-5 on the podcast 3 or 4 weeks ago, the preseason podcast. I'm still comfortable with it. That's fun. That's what we do. But when I look at the schedule, and earlier I took a look at the schedule, and I thought, on this schedule, where's the fear? Where am I scared? I'm not scared Thursday. If they play an A game, they beat the Packers. I don't care where they play the game. At the Ravens, the Ravens lost to the Colts today. Okay, we got to go into Baltimore and win that game. I get it. At Dallas was struggling with the Cardinals when I went on the air. I don't see it. The Chargers were 0-3 and almost lost to the Vikings today. The 0-3 Vikings don't scare me at all. Some idiot called the radio a couple weeks ago and said the Bears were going to win the division. Last I saw, that game was over at halftime. I can't find a game on the schedule that scares me. Like, I've watched every single play of the Lions this year. There isn't a game on that schedule that scares me. And that's not even cornbread. That's real. That's legitimate. There's no game I say, oh, they got no chance to win that one. Now you got to go play. You got to win the games. The effort today might not win against a really good team. The effort last week won't beat really good. But how many really good teams do they play, right? And I'm not sitting there going, they're going to run the table and finish 16-1. That's absurd. I'm saying they're good enough talent-wise, even with their injuries. Because let me remind you who didn't play today. I talked about this at the beginning, but they didn't have Houston. They didn't have Gardner Johnson. They didn't have Decker, Kirby Joseph, Vitae, Montgomery. Imagine they get healthy, they bring back JMO, and the rookies get better, right? And again, I agree with my brother. After we win Thursday, people are going to change their tune. You're going to start getting buy-in. Now, I don't care. I bought in preseason, and I think Kenny picked them to go 13-4. So we've been bought in. That's not a problem for us. But I look at the schedule, and I realistically say I don't see a team they can't beat. I don't see a game they can't win. Injuries are always the thing. You can't do anything about injuries. You can't do anything about injuries. So, but we're suffering just like everybody else. I think you got to have better effort than last week. I think today, if your defense plays like this every week, yep, 12-5 is easy. 12-5 is definite. That defense makes it that hard for everyone. And I'm not saying Atlanta's that good. I'm saying nobody scares me. Dallas just doesn't scare me. And if I'm missing something, feel free to tell me. Philadelphia, that's the only one I'm willing to talk about. It's the only one I'm willing to talk about. I think anybody else, they can beat them. And they might just be that team that can play okay and still beat you because they're that good and they never stop fighting. They might be that team that can put together a B plus game and beat you because they never stop coming. They they just never ever stop coming. And maybe that's what we look forward to all year. Just a team that just never stops fighting, never stops coming. They're always there. They're there. They're there. They never stop coming. And you know what? I'm cool with that. I'll be cool with that. So yeah, let's look ahead. So the Vikings lost 28-24. Third straight one score game they lost, by the way. We talked in preseason and I pulled the whole, hey, I'm a statistics guy. They had 11 one score games last year and they won all 11. That's not statistically probable. It's not sustainable. There's a term called regression to the mean or water finds its level. There's a million terms to say that's just not normal. That's not how that works. And so Minnesota's 0-3, all three one score games, right? Regression to the mean. They've lost all three one score games this year when last year they went 11-0 in one score games. I called them a fraud 13-4 because of that. I said realistically, statistics say they should have went 7-4 if they're a good team. So they would. I did a whole thing on them. Right now, more than anything, they lost a bunch of really good players, and I just don't think Minnesota's that good. I just don't think they're that good. We'll find out about the Packers Thursday. The Bears, I got friends that are Bears fans. I can't do it. I'm not going to do it to them. I'm not going to do it to them. I got friends that are Bears fans. But I don't. Again, so take all the things I said about the whole NFC. Who's the team in the NFC that scares you? And nobody's put any team in my comments yet. And I'm still waiting. Who's the team in the NFC you look and you go, the Lions can't beat them. Lions can't beat them on the road. Lions can't beat them at home. Lions can't beat them if they played the game in Hawaii. I don't know who that team is. I've said I like the Eagles. I think that's a good game. But I've clearly stated the Lions have a lot to clean up. You're going to have to play a lot better against good teams. Today, you did not play a good team today. They were 2-0, but they were not a good team. And you handled a good team at home because your defense played really, really well. I don't. I, Thursday's about effort. I don't know what the score is going to be. I don't know who's going to win the game. If the Lions bring the Kansas City effort, I think they win. If they bring the Seattle effort, they might lose. If they bring today's effort, I think they win because the defense was so dominant. If you create pressure on Jordan Love and control their running game, and I don't know if Aaron Jones is going to play. If Aaron Jones doesn't play and the Lions get the kind of pressure, interior pressure and edge pressure, they can win that game without playing an exceptional game. If the offense clicks like they did the first quarter and in the fourth quarter and not the second and third, I just think they're more talented. I just think they're more talented. So so we'll see what's going to happen there. Um, I again appreciate you listening. If you took the time, the people that joined, always, the people who have comments and tweets that they want to send in to give us some thoughts. Always thank the super producer extraordinaire Mike Ward. Um, we'll be back quick, right? I'll see you guys Thursday. Hopefully it's positive. It's going to be late, but that's okay. I'll be up. I'll be here. We're going to do that for sure. So again, the Lions got a 20-6. I don't know what you want to call it. Call it an ugly win, hard fought win. I don't care about any of that stuff. I don't know how to take that. It is so hard to win games in the National Football League. It is. And Atlanta came in 2-0. So at minimum, you had to believe they were a good team, okay team, and the Lions defense controlled the game today and got the win. So appreciate you listening. Thanks. Hope everybody have a good day, and we will see you Thursday night.